Imagine as a child that we are just this balloon that is filled with certain types of sustenance. We bring in food, we know that through our physical body, and it expands. And eventually, hopefully, we're able to get rid of that and get rid of all the waste. We bring in also emotions, and we bring in thoughts. And this is the way that the balloon expands that we don't generally recognize. So as a child, if we don't have the ability, if we're not given the tools, the proper tools to allow for the waste that we bring in emotionally and psychologically, then this balloon keeps filling and filling, and it becomes stretched to its limits. So as of right now, we're thrust into an educational system to where all we're learning is how to become a cog in a machine to run the gears for a forceful hand that we're not even aware of who they are. And as society moves along, this balloon keeps expanding because we keep experiencing, but without understanding how to process these things and to get rid of the waste, it's literally a form of psychological and mental constipation, because it grows and grows and grows and we don't know how to get rid of it. So how long would you imagine the body would last if you kept feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, yet you weren't allowed to get rid of any of that waste? For one, it would be extremely uncomfortable, and for two, it would make quite a mess when it actually did come out. So the same thing actually goes for all mental, all thoughts, and all emotional content that we feed our body. If we don't get rid of that, it will reach a critical mass to a point where it's going to violently erupt, and it will come out in any way that it knows how. So on a level of society, it's the same exact thing, since the society is actually a reflection of the individual. So as this balloon of society, all the emotional content and all the psychological content keeps growing and growing and growing until eventually it reaches a critical mass to where we notice that it's starting to come out violently, starting to come out involuntarily. So this was actually noticed thousands of years ago in the Holy Roman Empire. What you actually see, say, like when you see the movies like Gladiator and the things where they throw a person and a lion in a pit and just have them gore each other, you know, the survival of whichever one gains the first attack. What this really is it's a way to start venting a little bit of the content within this balloon. So you have people being able to project all of this inner hatred, all of this inner angst, all of these things that they don't understand, they don't know how to process, and they don't know how to relieve the waste in a natural way. So we project it out onto the world stage. So when we see violence, we project ourselves into that, and that's a way of actually diminishing, and that's a conduit to get rid of some of this waste. But it's not a healthy way, it's just a way of relieving some of the pressure. And we see the same exact thing that you see back in the days of the gladiators today with the competitive teams within football, soccer, anything that has violence or competition, to allow for all these psychological aggregates, all of this emotional content to release itself on a very small scale. But the question we need to ask ourselves is that enough to maintain equilibrium within the individuals that maintain an entire society all the way up to the human race? Every single one of us is a balloon that is expanding and expanding, and collectively we are this global balloon that is expanding, and we're not relieving any of this waste product that we have within us, primarily the emotions and the thoughts. So eventually, what would you imagine if this balloon were to keep going and going and going, and it wouldn't relieve itself of any of that pressure? Eventually, on a global scale, all of this is going to erupt, and we're basically, that's when you see the shit hits the fan, literally, because all of this waste literally just erupts involuntarily out onto the world stage, and the true nature of people will eventually come out, and it will not be hidden underneath the guise of our persona, our ego, because that will be completely crumbled. That will be completely superseded by all of this content that was hidden beneath the surface until it eventually boiled over and exploded, and the balloon takes off. All of that content bleeds out into the world, and then you'll have everything that we have ever feared, absolutely everything that we've tried to keep hidden, keep secret. All of this will be surfaced. We'll be completely vulnerable as individuals, and on an entire societal level, we will be working primarily on this primal need to survive. So my only question is, what is the world going to look like when a situation like that happens? And scene. Powder boy.
Dude, it's
Powder boy.
it's essentially Ghostbusters
Yeah.
1. It's essentially Ghostbusters 1.
It really is.